Ah,
You got it?
I do.
All right, cool. What's going on, Mar?
What's up?
Yeah, we're live, by the way. We're just gonna do this. Tara
Diving
should be hopping on, but we can get started anyways. Yeah, if you guys want to share this stuff, say hi to the people. Let me get my screen set up so we can.
Oh yeah. There we go.
Yeah, gallery view is the jam.
Excuse me.
Going to put this up here. Let me slide this all the way over here so I can see the comments. And let me slide over here so you can see your beautiful faces.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, time is it? It's 4:01. Cool. Let's just go ahead and get started. So, Mara, you're muted, by the way. I can unmute you if you want. There you go. So Dustin and I, Dustin challenged me last week to read this book called Stealing Fire. And I actually talked to Mara a little bit about this week, earlier in the week. It's a really cool book. It's got a lot of really interesting facts. And I've actually posed a couple of the interesting facts to the Facebook groups just to observe people's reactions to these things that are just, yeah, it's just scientific study, man. Like, why are you so angry? Like, it is what it is. So it's been really interesting. Tara, I see you're watching. There's a link in the, let me check to see if she's not waiting. She's not attending yet. Link the Zoom link, Tara, just click it to join it. What's up, Louie? And then we will get you in here. I'll promote you to panelist when you get in. So Dustin and I just sent him a message earlier, and he's like, oh, this would be a cool thing to talk about. So Dustin's just going to start with a question. I don't remember what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just going to go from there.
This is perfect. And we had an interesting
whenever you want.
A little breakdown after. So the question is, why does it feel so good when we show the fuck up? It was the exact wording. And like what I mean by that is when we walk into a room and we say exactly what we want to say, or we start a conversation with someone and we really feel like our point is made exactly the way that we want it, and we feel that the person is actually hearing it the way that we wanted them to hear it. And when we really exemplify whatever it is that we want to portray, why does it feel so good?
Oh, man. So I'm at the spot in the book that just talks about peak experiences and how you can, just a second, I'm sending a message to Tara if you want to jump in and answer that question. Anybody else? So okay, there we go. The part of the book that talks about peak experiences and how Mars, one of the people who I like look up to, who like continually does like kick-ass stuff. Like every other day, she's standing on a peak on Oahu, like just flexing at the sun. And there was like this study in there that says like the more you do that stuff, the more you challenge yourself, and the more, I think it's like you kind of put yourself up out there and you don't die. Like the guillotine doesn't fall. Like you get those dopamine spikes. And I think that's probably like on a chemical level, like on a biological level, it's probably just body chemicals, and Laura says, cause your body and are in alignment. Your being and body are in alignment. I think that's something like that. But I think even lower level, it could just be a chemical thing. But what does that even mean? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it feels really good when you show the fuck up, because you're actually showing the fuck up and you're not being fake. You're taking off the mask, you're taking off the layers, and you're actually being there and being real. So for me, like if I show the fuck up and I'm able to be heard and understood in my most real, vulnerable places, then that feels really good, because I don't have to pretend. I don't have to be something else. I don't have to speak some what's the word I want? Somehow else. I can just be me and show up. And then when it's received and understood, then that feels really good.
I think you answered the question with the two simple words, or actually three, when you said just be me. I think that's actually the answer to the question. Why it feels so good, because we get to be just be me for that little bit of time. And it's like what the book talks about, that stir effect, where we're in stillnessness, effortlessness, no, stillnessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness.
Listeness.
And it's similar experience, at least that's how I relate it to. And it is that just be me in that moment. And that's perfect answer. Oh, I'll shut that off. I always forget to shut this one off.
There's Tara. What's going on, Tara?
Oh, hey.
So, Tara, just to catch you up real quick, we just started this conversation with a question. Why does it feel so good when you show the fuck up? You care to give us your input to that?
Why does it feel so good when you show the fuck up? So when you show the fuck up, for me, that's like when I'm super excited about something.
Yeah,
Right?
or just
When
doing,
I'm like,
when you're doing you.
Yeah, when you're doing you. So it feels good because it's true.
Yeah, I think that's right back to what Mar said too. She's just like, she's being the most me. Like when I'm being me, when I'm being the most true, it just feels good. It's just probably just because it's like, it feels weightless. It doesn't feel like you're wearing anything. It's like metaphorically naked, like you're free. Everything's just flapping in the wind. It just feels good. And so, like, yeah, like flying. Mm-hmm.
Closest we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You don't have any of your like bullshit stories on, right? So it's just like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Close to.
Right on. Good talk. See you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it was good. Nice. What else do you want us to do? What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Oh man.
I'm super good myself, man. I had a really great workshop on Saturday. Had 18 people. It was awesome. Had a really good time.
Justin, when are you doing your Kilimanjaro?
Ooh, that's close.
We leave the 27th. We arrive the 28th and climb on March 2nd. No, March 3rd. March 3rd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you at? Where are you at, Dustin, right now?
Hayward.
Hayward. Where's that?
California, Bay Area, California.
Okay.
Bay Area.
Nice.
Yeah, I was in San Francisco for like 5 years and just got tired of kind of getting ripped off every month when I paid rent for this crappy little place. So decided to move out to the East Bay and get a house and a little more space, which is where I had my workshop at this weekend here at my house. I never would have been able to do that in San Francisco. Never would have been able to afford a space like that. So
Cool.
Sweet.
You guys are all in Hawaii?
Yeah, we're all in Hawaii. It's a Hawaii
For
cruise
now.
weekend.
Yeah,
for now. Tara's moving.
I used to live in Waianae.
Wow.
Nice.
Nice.
Waianae
What'd you
and
do?
Makaha. I just hung out. I worked, hung out on the beach, and drank beers and had a good time. It's a really great place. You guys probably don't go there, though, I imagine, huh?
I love the West Side.
It's nice. I don't get out there very often. It's far from, like Honolulu, but or far.
Yeah.
Right.
It's I'm like in a mile and a half radius from my house, like all the time. Like I don't go anywhere. I sold my car. If I leave somewhere, I walk down the hill and then I come back and I just hang out at home with my family. And whenever we go somewhere, it's just together. So I'd say it's like when you're within a 5 mile radius and it's just always with family or with friends. Like the bigger my family gets here, it's like the smaller our circle of friends get and the more intimate it gets per se. We have so that's been kind of like this, even the declutter of distance traveled per se, I guess. I never really thought of it that way. So it's just, just keeping stuff smaller. But like we think about the same thing. Like we think about, because I know Tara's talking about moving. I think first moving, but it's like leaving Hawaii is such a weird thing. But it's just like space is such a commodity here. and we live in a pretty big place, yet it's, you know, we're paying for it. So it is what it is. And yeah. And I think, go ahead.
Oh, I would say just suffering in the Hawaiian winter, you know. The whole
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You see my sweater. I have a sweater on. It's
Mhm.
like, ooh, it's chilly.
I remember those days when it would drop below like
Mhm.
70 degrees in the middle of the night.
Uh-huh.
It would be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Extra blankets and the socks and the so funny how relative, because you'll be back on the mainland and it'll be that and you're like, oh, it's so warm. Yeah.
Yeah. Something about so used to 85 degrees.
Yeah.
I haven't been back in a while though. It's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years since I've even vacationed there. Actually, I saw you, Ryan. That was the last time I was in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
Your
a couple
people.
years ago. So Stephen brings something up just so we can get back into the topic.
Yeah.
And he's like, when you're being yourself, it makes other people uncomfortable. I don't care personally if they're
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but if you guys want to talk to that, I know Mar doesn't care. I know Tara doesn't care. I know Dustin. Like Stephen,
so
I
maybe
think
that's
it's
a great.
awesome. Yeah, I think it's really kick-ass when people don't like who I am, because then they don't kick it with me.
Right.
And then I don't
It's
have
a
to worry
great
about, like,
filter.
it's a super awesome filter for who you want in your life and like who you want to spend your time with. And it's just like we talk about decluttering, and like the Marie Kondo is such a popular thing on Netflix right now. Like, does bring me joy. When you're being yourself and you're really feeling that flying and that freedom and like just really being you, like the declutter kind of happens for you.
Mhm.
People are just
That's very natural.
lying about that life, and then they're out. Like, hey,
Yep.
thanks for doing me a favor. It's just kind of, you know, when you work on one thing, it just automatically works on everything else. And everything else, just the more in alignment you are, the activities you do, the people you hang out, it just kind of all falls into place. And then you can kind of have that flow of people just moving in and moving out, activities moving in and moving out, hairstyles moving in and moving out. So, you know, yeah. So I'm, stoked about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's
Yeah.
pretty effortless. Like you don't have to think about it. You don't have to do anything. You're just being you. And then whoever is down. And, you know, it can be, but, you know, I think it's important to recognize that 99% of the world does everything they do or most of what they do for validation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just a
Yeah.
default mode. It's just a default mode we have, even if you think we're not doing it. You know, I mean, think about how many
Even
times a
if you
day
think,
you craft a conversation or a response that's kind of a default. Oh, I'm just to get validation, even if it's not like, oh, I really want validation from this person consciously. You just do it, right? So when you're truly in every moment staying true, it takes effort, especially at first, right? It really takes an intention and reminding yourself, okay, is this in alignment? Yes or no? You know, can I eliminate it or can I elevate it? Or so it's and I found too with, you know, people I work with and my clients that is one of the most challenging things for them is being able to let go of friends, even family members, you know, like not spending as much time with them, or they think that they so identify that there's such a part of them, you know, so that's a big deal for people. I totally get that. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, $0.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Plus, if you allow their discomfort to hold you back, then
having a
that adds up over time. Like, so if I'm my true self is making someone uncomfortable, so I choose not to advertise my true self, that builds an internal like timber stack inside of me that eventually is going to light on fire, and I'm going to have a massive burnout because I've been not portraying my true wants and desires from X, Y, or Z, and I've been holding that back because of their fears. Eventually, that becomes super fucking toxic. So it's important not to do that. It's important, even if it makes someone uncomfortable, to continue forward and hold them capable of being able to handle you. That way, you don't create that inside fire and burn yourself out. I've done that 1,000 times, and I don't care to do it anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good at all.
done that so many times.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mar.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think that being able to not really care about making people uncomfortable gives you the option to, what we started with is just to literally show the fuck up as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So And then, like you said,
Yeah.
kind of having those people around you who like who you are, who aren't uncomfortable around you. And then you kind of have this wonderful family of people that support who you really are. And you don't have to worry about, oh my God, like so-and-so is going to be uncomfortable if I show up at XYZ or say ABC. Who cares? I get to be myself and all y'all know who I am. And either you love it or you hate it. And it is what it is.
Yeah. And it also serves people greatly to be uncomfortable. It's a great service for them if they're willing to look at it or they want to look at it or there's an invitation there. Maybe you even extend an invitation. They're like, hey, I don't really like that. That doesn't feel good. I'm uncomfortable. You can say, okay, great. What do you think that's perfect for? Or, so it does serve them if they may not be ready for it, and that's okay. But when you're staying true, you are in service to the I think the highest good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, I think something too is that forth so often, and like every single time you leave the house, like you're presented with challenges to continue. Like, are you going to stay being yourself, or are you going to do something else? Are you going to stay being yourself or do something else? And just like Tara was saying, like that validation, that want validation is so strong that it's like constant, like, a constant line that we're attempting to balance on. And we all know that balance is like a more of a constant adjustment thing. And so it's just like every single moment. And I love the family member thing really, really much because, some people talk to their parents and their families all the time and some people don't. And I know the three of you, and I know that some of us have challenged family members and some of us have like really families we're really stoked about. And it's just, this is, I remember Amber and I just recorded a podcast episode 3 days ago on toxic relationships. So it's one of the things, like, blood is thicker than water. Yes, it is. Only in like the physical world, like, and that's in reality, like a literal statement, like, yes, it is. But if you choose family to be the most important thing, that it is. And if you don't choose family to be the most important thing, that it's not. Or you can create whatever family that you want. Like, no answer is wrong or right unless you label it as such. And so I just think that's, the family thing is always really huge.
It's really interesting how socially we, family's the most important, guys. Everybody, you got to show up for your family. And not saying that, if that feels right for you, if that's true for you, if that's an alignment for you, great. But if it's not, like, then people feel guilty or like, oh, but I should be because it's my family. And I've never resonated with, like, my family, prioritizing family over like myself, for example. And I don't mean in like a selfish way of I don't give a fuck about them. I just mean like, oh, should I, move home because my family really wants me to be there, versus no, that doesn't feel right for me. So, that kind of thing. That's a small example, but.
Right on.
Good.
What else is going on? Anybody else got anything interesting coming up, going on, want to share? I feel like my internet is struggling today.
My internet's struggling too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
I think it's
little
because we're on the same internet.
Are we on the same internet?
Well, I mean, it's coming from the same router, so
It's
I'm looking at. Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
You guys should just huddle around the router and
just have a little router party.
Just have a huddle. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess this book that we're reading, one of the most interesting things that I read and I shared.
What's the book?
Group.
What's
it's
the
called
book?
Stealing Fire.
Stealing
And
Fire.
It talks about kind of like the core tenet that talks about this guy. What was his name? Dustin, the guy in the beginning, the Greek guy. Anyways,
Prometheus.
It's just like Promethean, and like the way that like he stole fire and he gave it to humans, and like the gods were pissed and da 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 da. But anyways, it just talks about all these things that are like very, very socially acceptable, and then there's some stuff that isn't. And the topic I'm going to bring up is like alcohol and cigarettes or tobacco are like socially acceptable, and they're completely legal, and tons of people use them. We all know they're like extremely deadly, yet we pretend not to care. But then one of the things to talk about specifically is like MDMA and like psychedelics, and how it's like one of the scariest substances in the world, yet it's not nearly even sort of as dangerous as these other things that we talked about. And so one of the facts that they brought up, this guy did this study in the UK a handful of years back. And one of the statements that he made, he's like, a single tablet of ecstasy is about as dangerous as riding a pedal bike 20 miles. So if you took a tablet of ecstasy, or you went and you like hopped out of your garage and went and rode your bike 20 miles and came back, the likeliness of a dangerous event happening with either of those activities was roughly the same. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting, because people ride bikes all the time. But if you live in the city of Portland, people get run over by cars on their bikes all the time, like all the time. And you know, we have tons of cyclists in here, and the roads are already small enough, and there's always incidents with that stuff, but people just don't think about it because there wasn't a news article about how ecstasy is going to burn holes in your brain. But then the guy's like, well, yeah, if I freaking, you know, took 1,000 tabs of ecstasy, it's going to burn a hole in my brain. It's like, you're not listening to the fact. It's like, take it in small dose. It's just like, just look at the fact. Don't. And it was just, so I posted to this group, and people getting emotional about this fact was really, really, really interesting. And then I just remember like this guy's, you know, people are like, that's freaking bullshit, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, well, like, no, I'm just like, why is it that? He's like, well, this and that and that. And I used to do heroin. I was like, heroin's not even sort of the same thing. It's like not, you know, I think heroin's like number 2 on the most dangerous substances in the world. And number 1 is like alcohol, and nicotine's like number 4. And, but it was just like the stuff that people like their minds like, ugh. And we talk about the media that like wants to train you to be scared of these certain things. And really the biggest thing is because if we were all microdosing, Mike, what's up? If we were all microdosing on LSD and stuff like that, we would all start to think differently, and the government would freaking break down because we'd stop paying our taxes. Like that's really what the fear is. And, you know, and so it's just really interesting to just pose these topics out to people just to see what they think about, you know, and where their thoughts go and why they feel like they need. And it's like Tara said earlier, like it's a challenge. It's like my ego is like triggering up, like, no, that can't be right, because I ride my bike all the time and it's totally safe. Well, yeah, completely. Yeah, it's fine. You're great. Because you've never been hit by a car before, you know? You know, like I've known people who've ridden their bike once, been hit by a car. I know guys have ridden their bikes for 40 years and never. One of those interesting things. And so like just all these cool little stories and stuff that they've mixed into this book together, and just like, hey, let's take a look at what we're doing a little differently and challenge the things that we've been, you know, encouraged to believe because it fits somebody's accepted framework of what they believe the world looks like. Politics, my mom, you know, whatever. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, because if they challenge that belief, then what else would they have to challenge? And that's just
fear. For sure.
Like just fear, you know. People are comfortable in their stories. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I just heard about that microdosing LSD thing. My friend was like, hey, do you think I should do that? I'm like, I don't know, tell me more. You know, like it's like a thing now, right? There's like all these studies and like Tim Ferriss. I know he's talked about hallucinogenics for a while, but he's been like experimenting with the microdosing of LSD, and you know, I
microdose psilocybin. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, nice. What are the benefits for you?
I would say the biggest benefit that I notice is kind of a weird one-off experience. So I often cycle in and out of ketosis, and part of going into ketosis is this thing called carb flu, where you feel basically like a complete idiot for about 16, 20 hours. It's pretty rough, but after that you feel great. I've noticed that if I microdose on that day, that I have about 15 hours, maybe 10 to 15 hours where I can concentrate really well and do totally fine. And then I get just past that, and then it's like total idiot, and then I fall asleep. Beyond that, though, the biggest effects have been just more aptitude to focus and to stay on task. I have really strong ADD tendencies, so it really helps kind of keep some of that naturally at bay. And and it generally just improves cognitive function. I would say that I'm just a little sharper and a little faster. My pattern recognition is a little higher. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
So I take it occasionally. So like days when I want a super cup of coffee, I really want something special.
So it's not a daily thing that you
No,
do.
it's medicinal, not dietary, is a phrase that I've just recently learned.
Okay, got it. Medicinal. Okay.
Yeah, so it's just occasional.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great. I haven't done the
Cool.
microdose LSD yet. I would be really interested in doing that at some point too. And that would be one that I want to do over and over for so many days, because I think it would
Yeah.
a little bit more time to learn.
Yeah, it's supposed to reduce like anxieties and depression, things like that.
Anxiety, depression, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting too when I posted that. Like people were like, oh well, yeah, you take it and then you crash afterward. I was like, yeah, well, like that's factored into the test, or the you know, 1 tablet versus 20 miles on a bicycle. Like that's all factored in there. I'm not a funny thing is that how many people are like, why are you trying to freaking promote this? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm actually just wanting.
I got into the MDMA
and like
sell, man.
Perfect. Yeah. Like I wouldn't even know where to start. Like that's the funny thing. Like I don't even know where to get it. I guess I would Google it, order it from Amazon, maybe. I don't know. But it's funny how yeah, I don't think you can either. And it's of course it's still highly regulated and yada yada yada. And this guy's like, yeah, well, if you're doing this, you're like supporting the cartels. And I was like, come on, dude, this is a Facebook group. Calm down. Like, what's going on? What's going on in your life? You're so mad.
You're so mad.
The bicycling is still perfectly safe. Oh man, so it was just all these things, but the biggest thing was like PTSD survivors, and like it's the microdoses of that. Like they say that the only two clinically approved drugs to like medicate for PTSD is like Zoloft and what's the other one? Prozac. Those are like the only two that are, and you have to stay on them for weeks and really like you're hitting your thing like every day at the same time. You got to stay them on weeks to start to see something. And if you don't stay on it and maintain it, like you're going to instantly revert. Whereas you can take 1 day treatment of MDMA, and they say that can stretch you out and you're completely good for sometimes up to years. And then it's just like this one thing. And so that it brings it back to the point. It's like you take 1 tablet of this, whatever it is, and then all this stuff makes people hallucinate, but it's like the dose is small.
The most interesting part about the MDMA experiments is what happens when those people actually transform or transcend their trauma or their story or whatever it is. What they experience right before that happens is just a flood of overwhelming explosions of gratitude. So they start seeing these horrible events as resources and acts of service to their development, and then all of a sudden they're free from these fucking stories. So it's not even really the drug. It's just the drug just sets the table for them to have their own experience, and that's what's so fucking cool about studies specifically, is it's them having their own thing, and then they don't need it anymore. They did the work.
It's like ayahuasca, an ayahuasca ceremony, or even TM. They've done tons of transcendental meditation. There's tons of studies that doing TM is way more effective than Prozac or Zoloft or whatever, because it's that they're getting to work it out for themselves. Like they're unraveling all the bullshit, all the stories, the conditioning, and they're doing it on their own. So that's beautiful.
It was the
rescue, not an externalized resource. It's their shit.
Yeah, that's not produced by Pfizer, so it's not profitable.
It's not for profit.
Because you can go on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and look up TM and learn how to do that for free.
No, you can't actually.
I think like
you can't actually. Well, you can't actually. TM is like it's to learn actual TM. Like because I've done TM for many years, but anyway, the instructors go to school to learn. Like there's all these different mantras that but it's still not that expensive. You know what I mean? Like to learn TM and get instruction on TM, and it lasts you your entire life, and it's like $1,000 or something. So anyway, that's just wanted to throw that in there.
Good stuff.
I'm glad you're reading that book, man. I'm glad you're liking it.
No, I love it. I'm like halfway done. I wanted to be done, like all the way done by this call, but it's just.
You did because you're not listening to it on 1.5, bro. What the fuck?
I know, right? Oh man. Yeah, that was something that's so interesting too. Just the way that the brain. Yeah, I freaking loved that part so much. As they talk about the brain and how it processes time, no different than the brain processes vision or hearing or something like that. And so then it's like I see people in these Facebook groups like, yeah, I listen to these books like 3 times speed. I can read like 7 books in one day. And I'm like, man, it just seems like, why is everybody racing around all the time? It just seems miserable, you know?
I
just
listen
wanna
to my books
sit in my-
faster, but that's because the way that the narrator reads it drives me insane because it's so
No, so slow.
I can't listen to it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I wasn't, yeah, is just for me, like it's something about like really being with the words. And I got to be careful because I will, if I get distracted by one thing, I'll be like, oh man. And then I'm like backing it up, you know? And so if I'm going too fast, then I'm missing way more. So it's just, it's better for me to just take it easy and take it slow. And I'm usually driving or you know, riding around or carrying Pippin around like around the yard. So I'm like doubling it up anyways. And so Sean Newberg wants to know, what did he miss on Prozac? He's been on it for about a few months now. Sean, what we were saying is that Prozac and Zoloft are 2 of the only medications that are like clinically approved by the FDA and, you know, the people that make all the money to treat PTSD and certain types of anxiety and depression, you know, a couple of the drugs, but mostly PTSD. So we were talking about microdosing and we're just having a discussion. I don't microdose. I've never done a hallucinogen before. I think I tried shrooms in high school once and I think they were fake because it didn't really do anything. And so it's just like, there's a lot of different options that are more natural that are just involve like dipping your toe into a different something that's not as commonly talked about or commonly accepted that somebody's holding there's a gatekeeper for, because when walking through that gate, you leave their sphere of influence and their sphere of control. And so it's just something to look into. Some of the other stuff, just a transcendental meditation is one. And then, you know, but if you're still in the military, like the stuff's not really access to, the military wants you to take these drugs because they're sponsored by, you know, Pfizer and all these other companies as well. And that's why there have been some prescribing you 800 milligram Motrin anytime you had, you know, a toothache instead of like actually having you go to the dentist and get some work done, because it's just cheaper to them to destroy your kidneys and not care about you because they just don't. That's just my opinion. So I appreciate you asking the question.
The Wim Hof method has its first clinical trials in the United States for being used for treating depression and PTSD. For the first time. So it's very, very exciting. There's finally a patient one for depression in this science, in the arena of scientific study versus anecdotal evidence, because there's a pile of anecdotal evidence that it works, but to actually make it into a clinical study for depression is super exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty huge.
Because that's another completely all on your own tool. You can learn how to do that by reading a PDF. You're good to go.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. What else you guys got going on?
I just finished 20-hour fast. That's probably why I'm brain dead.
I love 20-hour fast.
Yeah.
I usually do about 18 on Mondays, but my friend is doing 5 days. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to try. I am not ready to do multi-day yet, but I'm kind of slowly, I think, inching my way into it. But I just turned stupid.
Yeah. It gets better. It gets a lot better. Once your body gets used to it, you actually become, at least me, I can only speak for myself, but after getting used to it, 20 hours into a fast, I'm the smartest, I'm the fastest, I'm the strongest that I can possibly be. Like I'm the most agile with my body and mind because my physiology knows that I'm starving and it's preparing me to go find that next meal, like on a primal level. So I think once you get used to it, you'll have that too.
So usually with my 18-hour fast, like I feel really, really good.
Interesting.
Hmm?
Who's talking?
You are.
You are.
Hi. I was gonna say, I think with my fasting days, like my 18-hour fast in the morning, I'm like sharp, I'm awake, I feel great. But then like towards the end of the days, granted, I am curious to see how like being physical has an effect on it, because I did work out twice and my job is extremely hands-on and physical. But like driving home, I'm just like, I am brain dead. I'm just like, I feel like I'm fried, if that makes any sense. But in the beginning, like towards the beginning of the day, like I feel great. It's usually just the afternoons that I start to crash a little bit.
Yeah, I think you'll get used to it if you keep messing with the longer fasts, especially if you're getting like a 48-hour fast, and then you do a 20-hour fast. Your body will already know what's happening way sooner.
Yeah.
And yeah, you'll have that. It's like insane. It's like drugs. I use it before anything. I use it like a prescription drug. If I know that I've got like a big event, I will strategically plan my meals so when I start that event, I haven't eaten for 20 hours and all I drink is black coffee and I'm laser.
Oof.
It's like a biohack. It's the most powerful thing besides the microdosing, it's like way more effective than the microdosing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's along the same lines.
My buddy is just finishing his 5th day, and he actually cut out coffee as well. And also an athlete, so he's still been working out and lifting and running and sprinting.
Wow.
And so like he's kind of been doing like daily diaries on how his body's feeling and like his sleep patterns and like how he feels when he lifts and works out. And he's kind of gone in this ebbs and flows of like, oh my God, this is the best day ever. I feel super sharp, to like, I hate life, I can't function, to like, this is great, I want to keep doing this, to like, I need food right now. So it's just been interesting. So I'm, like I said, I fast every week, but usually not more than 18 hours. So today was 20, so we'll see how that goes. I just really like food.
Yeah, it's good. I'm a big fan of
Who
it.
doesn't? Yeah.
I also like.
I like food more. I like food more when I'm starving, so it's kind of cool to go into that space. It tastes so much better when I
Get
haven't
that
eaten
meal.
for.
So then, Dustin, do you have a certain meal that you break your fast with, or do you have any?
It depends on how long the fast is. So if it's like a shorter fast, I don't really worry too much. If it's a longer fast, then I keep it really, really simple. Like will be like either just fruit if I'm in that looking for that sort of thing, or if I'm more like looking to stay in ketosis, I'll like go bone broth. Breaking a fast with bone broth, like doing a 48-hour fast and breaking with bone broth and working out throughout that is like, it's almost like doing steroids. It's so cool. I don't know why the body does that, but it just recognizes this opportunity or as a struggle, as a stimulus to build a bigger and build stronger. And it's pretty nice what we can do with this machine.
One of the things that I read, because I did intermittent fasting for like 4 months or something, a handful last year. And my body just felt cleaner all the time. Because one of the things when your body's, and now like I'm not doing it and I wake up when Charlie wakes up and I'm kind of like nibbling on something almost all day because she is. And so, well, that's my excuse at least. There's me. What were we talking about earlier? Like there's my, yeah, my opportunity to validate. Right. And so, yeah, that was one of the things that was coolest is that when your body's like, I don't have anything to eat, they're like, all right, let's go like dust the ceiling fan because we don't normally clean here. So your cells get like a good scrub down when your digestion system's like shut down. So that was really cool. But I didn't really dig it because it really messed with my digestion and like my freaking poop schedule got all whack when I would do that. And so it was really,
man. What happened to it?
So like I would eat between, where would I eat? I would eat between noon and like 6 or 7 p.m., like somewhere around there. And so I would eat for about 6 or 7 hours a day. And normally, like when I'm eating, normally with the more conventional method, like I wake up first thing in the morning and like about an hour, within the hour, like I'm, offloading. And so when I was on intermittent fasting, I would stop. I finished my last meal like between 6 and 7, and I would wake up, and then I wouldn't go until like noon. But I would wake up feeling like just full, and so that it just didn't. I didn't really dig that part, and that was like kind of a huge down check for me because of the, and I did it every day for like.
Did you ever shift the hours or play with the
I played I would go, I shifted it a little earlier. Like I started at like 11 instead and would end it a little earlier. And like, yeah, so it was just one of those things because, and I know I talked to Dustin about this before, but it's just something about the hours where it needs to be a certain amount of time, like after you wake up, that when you actually start to eat. And so that was just one of the things because I was like, well, would it be cool if I just got up and started eating breakfast and then just started my fast, like ate from 6 in the morning until noon or 1. But there was just something about it that just, it doesn't work as good, or I don't know. So I was just, yeah, but it was cool because I learned a lot. And so it was totally worth that experience. And I remember I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. I remember starting it like in April and like June, July, August, and like went all the way into the summer. And I did it for like 4 or 5 months. And it was just, I really liked it. I didn't really lose any weight from doing it. And, but yeah, it was kind of cool. And I really liked the discipline of the thing, like having to wake up and be like, and I would wake up and I would only drink water. I wouldn't drink coffee or anything until during my window. And so I would have coffee like right when I started. And it was just like Dustin said, that first meal of the day, no matter what it was like the best food I'd ever had, like every single day. So that part was super cool. So, Marie wants to know what our thoughts on colonics. Who in here is the colonic people? I've never done one.
Never done one.
Never done one, Mar?
I've done coffee enemas.
Oh, tell us about that.
Those are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like
awesome.
a stimulating experience.
It's very stimulating in many ways. Have you done it, Dustin, too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you haven't. Yeah, it's done for people with the Gerson therapy is I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's Dr. Gerson came up with it, but basically it's for people with cancer, but not, you can use it for other ailments like chronic disease in the body. And because I can't drink coffee this way because it just doesn't work with my body. It's too acidic and stuff like that. That's not why I did it, but I remember one time I did it, and then afterwards I went and hiked Cocoa Head, and I had so much freaking energy. It's like, I just felt clean and just so good. Yeah, it's like having 8 cups of coffee probably, because it's like going right into, your system that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mari, if you do that stuff, definitely we'll get you on here so we can talk about your experience if you're going to go, get flushed out that way, whatever. Yeah, we'd love to talk about that. So just let us know.
Brings a whole new meaning to have a coffee.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I swear, like I was just sitting in my house today, just the coffee. And it was like, it's so, because caffeine's on the list of like the most dangerous substances that we use. It's like number 6.
Is it caffeine though, or is it coffee?
It's caffeine specifically. And in the military, we've had, it's like every summer we have chief season. We make new chiefs every year. We have at least one guy who stays up way too late. He's just killing monster energies and and then he wakes up to do PT and then he freaking heart stops because he's been just action packing caffeine into his body. And like, yeah, and that's a super common thing. It's really, really, really interesting. And then they'll put out some sort of thing that says, all right, no more drinking the white monsters during da-da-da-da-da. But at every naval exchange and the Quickie Mart and everywhere all over base, it's just packed because military requires less sleep. It requires less than optimal food. And, you're up and then dark every morning. And so your sun schedule can be weird depending on if you're on board ship or stuff like that. So caffeine and coffee is like one of those things, nicotine, caffeine. And, so you're like nicotine and caffeining all day to like deal with the stress of work. And then you leave. And then the first thing you do is hit the happy hour to like calm yourself back down so you can go to sleep. And so that's why those 3, that's like the biggest thing is because we mix those 3 all the time, is a general statement and in excess as well, So yeah, it's interesting.
Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Yeah. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Oh, it's just fucking crazy. The stuff that's like, and I think and so this discussion that I had about this fact, like, MDMA versus 20 miles on your bike, is like, oh, well, that's illegal. You can't even compare them because they're not legal, or one's illegal and one's illegal. How can they even? I was like, why don't we just compare danger to danger? It was just, which I think is what they brought up in the book as well. Is like, why shouldn't we look at just the intrinsic value of danger for any event, and then like base on whether it's acceptable from that? And so it was just,
I'll have a story attached to it. An ego event.
I'm sure that you can find somewhere in like the South where riding your bicycle is illegal.
Probably.
Yeah, on a certain day,
Yeah,
at a certain
sure
time.
something somewhere bicycling is illegal.
Yeah.
Fuck that place.
Yeah, fuck that place. It's stupid.
Don't create that for yourself.
Yeah.
Go there.
Right on. Anybody got anything else? Anybody listening have any questions about what we got into? Or you three got anything else left?
Maybe just to leave. I don't know why this keeps coming up, because we're talking so much about the body, which is awesome, and this is a great like vehicle for whatever. And who would we be without the assumption that we have a body? Because it's an assumption, right? It's a thought. We're creating it. It's not really real. It's not who we are. It's not real. And so maybe just for everybody out there, and the deeper question, I guess, would be it's such a great question to continue to ask yourself all the time, daily, who and what am I? Like, what am I? Not just who am I? Not like, I don't want a list of your personality traits, because that's not who you are. It's like, what am I?
So how would you answer that question?
Star guts.
Star guts. Yeah, an infinite being. The absolute, the one infinite creator. Looking at myself.
I like it.
Yeah.
Everybody will have their own answer.
I'm a big fan of saying that I'm just a figment of God's imagination. And
you are God.
Therefore I am. Yeah.
It's your own imagination.
And again, I think that we're saying the same thing. It's just slightly different vernacular. And it's just, or I'm plugged into a machine somewhere, and there's somebody playing me like a game, and they thought that this Facebook Live would be a super freaking cool way to spend their time. So like, if you're doing that, like, let's go do something fun, man. Like, what's going on? Like, we can do whatever we want. So if you're controlling me, whatever's controlling me. So yeah. Let me see. We got some comments in here. Baby, I am Groot. What do you eat? What you watch? Yeah, what you do. Yeah. Cool. All right. I appreciate you guys showing up today.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Good stuff.
You guys are awesome.
If you guys all want to drop your links in the comments, and if you want to talk to Mar, Dustin, Tara, or myself about what we do, like, we all have different things. Mar's a kick-ass freaking lifestyle coach. Tara's a intergalactic tour guide. Dustin's if you want to freaking talk, if you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, like, while wearing one of those, mask with no pants on, like, Dustin's your guy too. So go check it out.
No pants on.
Well, he's not
Are
wearing
you going to climb it without pants?
I'm going to wear shorts and no shirt. I won't have a shirt on.
Okay.
I will have shorts.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't care. Do it. Do you. You do you, boo.
Are you doing like video or like updates while you're doing this?
Maybe not updates, but definitely going to be taking some video and some super rad photos for sure.
Yeah. Pixar didn't happen.
Transit or something.
Right on. Cool.
Bye, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for showing up. See you next time.
Everyone.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks, Tara. Thanks, Mar.
Yeah.
Later, bro.
Thanks. Bye,
Bye.
guys.